Today we are going to see the first unit in Civics, which is how the state government works. In the last class, we have already seen about the introduction part, the state executive, the governor, powers and functions of the governor, position of the governor, the chief minister, under this, powers and functions of the chief minister. Synopsis of the lesson. In this session, we are going to see the following topics. The first one is the legislature. The second one is legislative council. Then legislative assembly. Next, election to the assembly. The state's council of ministers. Finally, we have the working of the state government. Now we are going to see the first topic, that is the legislature. Here we can see the picture of legislature. The legislature in India, the state legislature consists of the governor and one or two houses. The upper house is called the legislative council and the lower house is called the legislative assembly. First, we have to know what is a constituency. Every state is divided into small areas called constituencies, which is a specified area covering one or more districts. Each such constituencies has an elected representative who is a member of the legislative assembly, which means MLA. The state legislative assembly consists of not more than 500 members and not less than 60. Next, let's see about member of legislative assembly, that is MLA. Every 5 years, election is announced for state legislative assembly. Political parties nominate their people for each constituency. All members of the legislative assembly are elected on the basis of adult franchise, and one member is elected from one constituency. A member of legislative assembly, that is MLA, is a representative elected by the voters of an electoral district, which means constituency, to the legislature of a state in the Indian system of government. To be member of the legislative assembly, a person must be a citizen of India. Then he must be at least 25 years of age and must have such other qualification as may be prescribed by the president. Now we are going to learn about legislative council. Parliament has two houses. One is Rajya Sabha and another one is Lok Sabha. Rajya Sabha is the upper house and Lok Sabha is the lower house. In this lesson, we are going to concentrate only at state level. At state level, we have two houses. The first one is Legislative Assembly. It is considered as the lower house, which is also known as VIII Sabha. The other one is Legislative Council. It is the upper house, that is VIII Parishad. In some states, we have both the houses, so those states are called bicameral states. If there is only one house, that is, if there is only legislative assembly, then that it is called unicameral state. Unicameral state has only one house, that is legislative assembly. It has no legislative council. When both the houses are present in the state, then it is called bicameral state. Next, let's see about election of members of Legislative Assembly and Legislative Council. In Legislative Assembly, members are directly elected by the people, whereas in Legislative Council, members are not directly elected by people. In Legislative Council, 1/3 are elected by members of State Legislative Assembly, then 1/3 from local bodies such as municipalities and panchayats. 1/6 are nominated by governor from the field of art, science and literature. Then 1/12 are elected by the persons graduate of 3 years standing residing in that state. Finally, 1/12 are elected by persons engaged for at least 3 years in teaching in educational institutions within the state. Students, do you know which are the states which follow bicameral legislature means? At present in India, there are 7 states which follow the bicameral legislature like Uttar Pradesh, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Karnataka, Maharashtra and Jammu Kashmir. Next, we are going to learn about the term bicameralism in government. Bicameralism, which means bi means two, camera means chamber. So, it is the practice of having 2 legislative or parliamentary chambers. Thus, a bicameral parliament or bicameral legislature is a legislature which consists of 2 chambers or houses. Next, we are going to learn about Legislative Council. Here we can see the picture of Legislative Council. Legislative Council. The Legislative Council is a permanent house. 1/3 of its members retire every 2 years and elections are held to fill the vacant seats. The members are elected for a term of 6 years. To be a member of the Legislative Council, one must be a citizen of India and he should have completed 30 years of age. Then he cannot be a member of the Legislative Assembly or either of the houses of the Parliament. The chairman is the presiding officer, which means governing officer of the Legislative Council. In his absence, the deputy chairman presides, which means conducts over its meetings. They are elected. Here, they refers to the chairman and the deputy chairman are elected from among the members of that house. Then, the Constitution provides that the total strength of the Legislative Council must not be less than 40 and not more than 1/3 of the total strength of the Legislative Assembly of the state. The members of the Legislative Council are elected indirectly. So, 1/3 of its members are elected by the local government bodies like the district panchayat and municipalities. Another 1/3 is elected by the members of the Legislative Assembly. Then 1/12 is elected by the graduates of the constituency and another 1/12 by the teachers of secondary schools, colleges and universities. 1/6 of the members of the Legislative Council are nominated by the governor of the state. Do you know at present only 7 states in India have Legislative Council in their legislature? They are Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Jammu and Kashmir, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Next, we are going to learn about Legislative Assembly. The people who make the laws of a state government are called members of the Legislative Assembly, that is MLA. MLAs are chosen from different constituencies. For the election of MLAs, The entire state is divided into different constituencies. These constituencies are called the legislative constituencies. One legislative constituency may have 1 lakh or even more people. One MLA is chosen from each legislative constituency to represent that legislative assembly. Next, we are going to learn about election to the assembly. The first point is that different political parties compete in the elections to the legislative assembly. So the different political parties will compete, so they will take part in the elections. These parties nominate their candidates from each constituency. So the political parties will nominate their candidates from each constituency. The candidate is that person who contests for the election and asks people to vote for him. A person has to be at least 25 years old to contest for election to the legislative assembly. One person can stand for election in more than one constituency at the same time. Even if a person does not belong to any political party, he can contest election. Such candidate is called an independent candidate. Then, every party has its own symbol. Independent candidates are also given election symbol. Here, we can see the pictures of different kinds of symbols. The members of Legislative Assembly, which means MLA, are elected directly by the people. All people residing in the area of a legislative constituency who are 18 years of age can cast a vote in the Legislative Assembly elections. First, we have to know what is meant by constitution. A constitution is a basic design which deals with the structure and powers of the government. It also includes rights and duties of citizens. It provides the framework for the organization of the state government. According to the Constitution, a legislative assembly cannot have more than 500 members and not less than 60 members. Some seats in the legislative assembly are reserved for scheduled caste, which means SCs, and scheduled tribes, which means STs. The governor can nominate one member from the Anglo-Indian community. The members of the Legislative Assembly are elected for a term of 5 years, but the governor can dissolve the House before the expiry of its term and can call for fresh elections. Then the meetings of the assembly are presided, which means chaired or headed over by the speaker, who is elected from among the members of the assembly. In his absence, the deputy speaker conducts its meetings. Next, we are going to learn about the State's Council of Ministers. The leader of the majority party in the election is chosen as Chief Minister. In Tamil Nadu, there are 234 legislative constituencies. The party with more than 118 elected candidates, which means MLA, are invited by the governor to form the government. Then the Chief Minister, who also should be an MLA, chooses his ministers from the MLAs of his party. Ministers for various departments headed by the Chief Minister is called the state government. So, it is said that the party which got majority seats in the election forms the government. Now, let's see about process of election in India. The first process is that filing of nomination. that is the political party will choose a representative for each constituency and they will file their nominations. Then the second process is that analysis of nomination. Then the third process is that campaigning for elections. The members of the political party will begin their campaign process, that is, they will start to convince their people why they need to vote for them. That is called campaigning process. Fourth one is voting or polling day. Fifth process is that vote counting and result declaration. After the declaration, formation of ruling party. So that is the sixth process of election. We have already seen about. So there are three branches of government, right? Constitution provides a separation of powers like legislative, executive and judicial. Legislative branch makes laws. Executive branch carries out laws and judicial branch evaluates laws. Government of India, central or union government, is classified into three. The first one is executive, the second one is legislature or parliament, and the third one is judiciary. Executive consists of president, vice president, cabinet ministers. What are the major responsibility of the executive branch is to pass the laws made by the legislature. The second one is legislature or parliament. Legislature consists of Lok Sabha, which is your lower house, plus Raj Sabha, which is your upper house at central level. Then Prime Minister, PM. So the major responsibility of legislature branch is to make laws. Judiciary consists of Supreme Court of India. So the major responsibility of judiciary branch is to solve conflicts between executive and legislature. The second one is other public related matters or conflicts. Next, we are going to learn about the working of the state government. After being elected to the Legislative Assembly, the MLAs are expected to regularly participate in its sittings. The Legislative Assembly meets 2 or 3 times in a year. The main duty of the Legislative Assembly is to make laws for the state. It can make law on the subjects mentioned in the state list and the concurrent list. However, during state emergency, it cannot exercise its legislative power. The Assembly has control over the State Council of Ministers. The State Council of Ministers are responsible or answerable to the Assembly for its activities. The Assembly may pass a no confidence motion against the Council of Ministers and bring its downfall if it is not satisfied with the performance of the Council of Ministers. The Legislative Assembly has control over the finances of the state. A money bill can be introduced only in the Assembly. Money bills are concerned with financial matters like taxation, public expenditure, etc. So what is mean by taxation? For that, you have to know what is mean by tax. A tax is a compulsory financial charge imposed on a taxpayer by a governmental organization in order to fund government spending and various public expenditures. So now let's see what is meant by taxation. Taxation is the means by which a government or the taxing authority imposes a tax on its citizens and business entities, from income tax to goods and services tax (GST). Taxation applies to all levels. What is meant by public expenditure? Here, public expenditure means the money which is spent for the welfare of the public in the particular state. Now, we are going to learn about types of bills: Constitutional Amendment Bill, Money Bill, Financial Bill, and Ordinary Bill. Constitutional Amendment Bill means it is passed to amend the provisions of Constitution. It introduced under Article 368. Money Bill. Money Bill deals with money matters. Financial Bill. Financial Bill consists of both money and non-money matters. Ordinary Bill. Matter which are not covered under Money Bill, Financial Bill, and Constitutional Amendment Bill. The government cannot impose, increase, lower, or withdraw any tax without the approval of the Assembly. The elected members of the Legislative Assembly can take part in the election of the President of India, and all members can take part in the election of the members of the Rajya Sabha from the state. The Assembly also takes part in the amendment of the Constitution on certain matters. So the government has three basic functions like making laws, executing laws, and ensuring justice, which means fairness or honesty. I have enclosed the classwork instructions in the PDF. Kindly refer it. So now we have reached the end of this session. Thank you.